There, and we will move to the next presentation, which is from Johan Kosmalski, giving us all the details on the UVS optical design. Johan, I will try not to steal 5 minutes from your time, and I will show you in my video the 5 minutes warning before the end of your talk. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa. So good morning, everybody. Before I start, I would like to thank Bernard Delab for his input. So he was the optical designer of UVS, and me at the time of the design of UVS, I was still playing a video game at home. So thank you, Bernard, for that. I cannot start. Oh, do you see the slide moving? No.
Not yet.
No.
Aha. Ah, yes.
There you go. It just
okay. So we cannot talk about the UVS without speaking about the white pupil concept. So the white pupil concept is the answer to this question: how to achieve very high spectral resolution without using large detector, ultra large and ultra fast, and impossible to design cameras. And yeah, you have also other possibility. Instead of using a big camera, you can use several small ones, but they have to be far from the pupil, and you will lose a lot of light doing that. So the classical approach before the white pupil concept was for high resolution was to use an eshell and a cross disperser in the same path. So you have one after the other, and not both can be in the pupil plane, so you lose a lot of light, and the camera is then far from the pupil, and it has to be very large. And here you can see the Keck IRES, which was the contender of UVS, and it uses a very large Schmidt camera of 44-inch with the detector in the middle, which introduced as well a lot of emitting. So at ISO, we had a similar approach using in Caspec. So this white pupil high resolution photograph concept was proposed by André Baran in the early 80s. So the idea was to use an eshell grating in litho with the main collimator using double pass, and doing that you create a slit with overlapping diffraction order. And then after that you introduce another transfer collimator and a cross disperser to separate all the order on your detector. One interesting point of that is that the camera pupil is almost a free parameter, so it's defined by the focal length of your collimator. But you have to balance that with the field of view you give to the camera when you change the pupil size. And so one limitation is that the slit length of your spectrograph is limited because you have to separate the order on the detector. There was several attempts from André Baran to use this concept, and one example was Casabec, which used a Schmidt collimator and double pass. But Schmidt, it has a flat surface, or Schmidt corrector close to the eshell, and it turned out that using a Schmidt collimator, you introduce a lot of ghost images just by reflection, unwanted reflection on this Schmidt plate. Then at ISO, Hemi was the first one to use that principle after. So now this brings us to the UVS, so UVS design. If you see my pointer, yes. So first, if you enter UVS using the optical rotator, you have a set of ADC, and there is one selection mirror mechanism that is used to observe with a blue arm and or with a red arm, or both at the same time. So both arms are using the same optical formula, so with the same main collimator and transfer collimator design, and they cover all the wavelength using two cross disperser. So what makes UVS better than what was done before by André Baran? This is the main collimator and transfer collimator combination. And this is exactly what André Baran was looking for, the ultimate combination for the main and transfer collimator. So the principle is very simple, and so you have the first first off-axis parabola, which is used in double pass, and another off-axis parabola with the same curvature, so radius, to create the reimage pupil on the cross disperser. The thing is, what happened in the vertical plane, so you use the first off-axis parabola in double pass, but it's not using, you don't compensate, you introduce some vertical aberration at the predispersed slits. And this is perfectly compensated by playing with the off-axis of the second parabola. On the direction perpendicular to the plane of the figure, where the dispersion appears, you only have the two parabola seen, and they perfectly compensate each other. So you obtain a collimator with unbeatable image quality, no ghost because there was no plate at all. The only problem you have is that you introduce some field curvature, but this is compensated in the camera design using a spherical cylindrical surface. The second secret of UVS is useless to have a perfect collimator without high quality camera. And so the second secret is that in UVS you have strong vignetting. I think it's known, but this is mainly due because the camera has to be far from the pupil because we use a reflection grating. And at the time of UVS, glass blanks were larger than 200 mm, were limited and not existing for the material used in the camera design. So you end up with 25% vignetting in some areas, you can see on a bit on the drawing. But Bernard here making a clever use of this vignetting, he really obtained very good image quality with only spherical lenses and thinner lenses. So as an illustration, you can, if you have no vignetting, you end up with 6 pixel spot size, whereas with vignetting you only have 1 pixel. So this is a very good point of UVS. So what happened after UVS? So UVS was copied 9 times with sometimes some variation of the collimator design. For instance, in Spetsy, it uses a Maksutov type of axis Maksutov type collimator. In Gemini, it was an on-axis asphere and an off-axis conic. But if any spectrograph that used the same pupil size on the echelle and on the cross disperser, they all use the two off-axis parabola design as done in UVS. So what has been done then after to improve UVS? To improve the UVS concept, it was first Bernard wanted that I mentioned a bit Steles. It was the first one to use the trick of a spherical collimator, but with using a camera compensation of the astigmatism. You cannot compensate because you're not using a parabola. So you compensate in the camera and also by a bit of defocus on the grating, which introduces the astigmatism you are missing. And this concept has been pushed even further with Espresso, where a field lens is added at here the predispersed slit, and doing that you can correct field curvature and you don't have any cylindrical surface in your camera. Also, yeah, it was to mention that for these two spectrographs, there was a huge benefit of using only fixed format detector. So you have only one grating settings, and it allows you to not achromatize the camera, so you don't need to have many lenses. So as you can see in US, which was achromatized, fully achromatized camera, compared to what you have in Espresso with only 4 lenses. So what can be done here on US? So I will present only a few ideas we were thinking about. So first is to double the camera field of view and cover the full spectral time, so 200, 500 nanometer in one shot. And to do that, and keep the camera inside the instrument volume, you need to reduce the size of the camera. And then one idea is to use transmission grating, and of course use modifying the transfer collimator to have a smaller pupil to work with. And yeah, combining all this, you can expect to improve a bit the throughput and with the observing time as well, because you cover the full spectral range in one shot. So how to do that? Yeah, the idea is simple. Is to convert the transfer collimator of US into an Espresso type. And yeah, one idea for name this stub gun would be USpresso. I don't know. So here is how it looks like. So now the transfer collimator is a shorter focal length. It creates a wide pupil of 150 by 200 millimeter. The grating parameter is 1080 line per millimeter, size 200 by 200, and the camera focal length is of course shorter. And here you see it looks quite compact and fits well in the volume. So just a small description of the camera. It has 5 lenses, and we use I use a trick of not compensating the axle color, so it's to reduce the number of lenses, but you have to tilt the detector then. That's the match quality. Here are some spots of the RNS spot diagram. The square box is 1 arcsecond, so for the radar order, diffraction order as well, and everywhere in the detector we are well within this limit, and we have size similar. We have spot size similar to the current blue camera. Okay, one word about how it looks like on the detectors. So you cover the full wavelength range so on only one 4K by 4K detector, and the minimal order separation, so in the lower part, is 560 micron. and which correspond to maximum slit lengths of 7.7 arcseconds if you assume no gap. So what would be the throughput improvement? That you can expect 10 to 15% efficiency increase in efficiency just because of the grating change. Okay, there is 1 lens less, 2% in transmission, not a big improvement, but okay, it's always good to take. You have no vignetting at all, affecting the extreme and blue and red order, and maybe we can opt for better efficiency for the detector in the blue. And okay, I estimate to have a relative increase of 50%, but okay, not everywhere, because the main improvement will be in the extreme UV or in the 500 nanometer area. Okay, that's my last slide. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Johan. Are there some questions? Yes. Oops. No, the question went. Hans has a question. Hans Decker.
Yes.
I suspect that with 4K by 4K, the sampling will not be too good. Why not 6K by 6K?
It's a possibility, but you will only play with the number of line. Okay, you can just increase the number of line of the grating to separate more the order, but on the other axis you still have a 4 pixel sampling, so with a 1 arcsecond slit. So I think the sampling is good enough, but I don't think we need 6K by 6K.
Okay, thanks.
We have another question by Stefano. Cristiano.
Yeah, you just showed about the increase in efficiency, say global.
Yes.
But till which wavelengths in the ultraviolet would it extend? So when do you see the cutoff in the ultraviolet?
For the moment, I use the full 4K to cover 300 to 500 nanometer. So out of below 300, it's out of the detector. So
okay, but I mean, where would you expect the efficiency to drop?
To drop,
Yeah.
it's dependent of the detector mainly, but
okay, so you say it's not limited by the optics. Let's say.
don't think so. Okay, the grating also will have an impact, but mainly the detector, I would say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Stefano. I think we have a question. I don't know if it's a question or a comment by John.
It's a question. So you said that there would be 4 pixel sampling for the 1 arcsecond slit, but what about for the 0.4 arcsecond slit, or at least at a resolving power of 90,000? Are we still
I didn't change
above undersampling?
No, I think if it was working before with the current ULES, I didn't change the spectral the sampling.
Okay.
The F number at the camera is the same, not smaller.
Okay, so the same. Okay, good. Thanks.
Thank you, John. We also have a question by Luca Pasquini.
Yeah, sorry, mine is mostly a comment, is that in reality for all those who need to cover the full blue setup, the gain with respect to now will be double because you can do only one.
You mean in exposure time, Luca?
Yes, at the end, what counts is exposure time, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Maybe I had a question also. I mean, the one of the modes. I don't know what this was. Yeah, one of the modes of VueVis at the highest resolution is using the slicer as an input. Has there been any thoughts of upgrading that part of the instrument? Also, efficiency-wise, for example, or I don't know.
Okay, this was not considered for the moment, but yeah, everything is possible. This is, I think, the goal of this workshop, to think about what can be done next.
Yes, there is another question by Bruno Leibovitz.
Well, the reason I'm asking here is the high resolution you can actually really recover with Espresso. So why would you want to do that with UVis?
UVis is the only one to go below 350, I think. So that was Espresso start at 380, I think, more or less.
That's correct. No, that's correct. But so you're talking about a very small wavelength range where UVis outperforms Espresso in this case. Just for the slicer case, I'm just talking about the very high resolution case. Is that correct? It's just for me to understand.
Yeah, I think so. Just,
okay.
But remember, though, that the slicer doesn't give you higher resolution than the narrowest slit. What the slicer does is it gives you that high resolution in porcine.
Understood.
So you don't actually get to a higher resolution than you can do with just the slit, but it allows you to get there in more nominal conditions.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? If not, then let's thank our two speakers of this. No, there is a last comment or question by Hans.
Yes, since it has not come up yet, there's the project Cubes, which is a Cassegrain instrument, and will have a resolution of 20,000, which is aimed at getting very high spectral efficiency, also using transmission gratings. It has the advantage of being at a Cassegrain, which is, of course, one reflection less, and it will have two gratings for 300, 350 and 350 to 400. That will certainly provide a higher efficiency than the one grating that is proposed for UVis, because they are optimized, and also because the UVis grating has about 1,000 lines per millimeter, and will not be as efficient as the 3,500 lines per millimeter of Cubes. So in the end, it comes down to comparing a somewhat lower resolution with a higher optical efficiency of Cubes with the possible new version of UVis. The transmission grating is certainly possible, but it will have to be a special type of the type that is also being used in Gaia by microlithographic techniques. It has to be studied in detail.
Thank you, Hans. Johan, did you want to react to Hans' comments?
Oh no, I start to interact with the IOF about what can be done for UVis in this case, and this is still okay. They could not answer or provide expected efficiency curves before the meeting, so it's in progress. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.